You're tuned in to Shake, Rattle, and Goal, the official podcast of your Springfield Thunderbirds.
Osmanski, a one-timer deflected side of the goal. Alexandrov scores!
Hosted by Matt Baker and Steve Forney. A show that's everything Springfield hockey, with interviews including players, coaches, and staff.
The Springfield Indians repeat as the Calder Cup champions.
Listen to this podcast on all major streaming platforms and wherever you download podcasts.
In his first year at the helm, Kevin McDonald and Drew Bannister have the Teamers in the Calder Cup Finals.
Watch the podcast on the official Shake, Rattle, and Goal YouTube page at SRG Podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Matt Baker and Steve Forney. And this episode number 18 of the Shake, Rattle, and Gold podcast is brought to you by our friends at White Lion Brewing in Tower Square in downtown Springfield and their new location in Amherst. As you know, in Springfield, it's your go-to pregame spot for Thunderbirds game. We're now also brought to you by our friends at YOLO Healthcare Consulting, bridging the gap for those traversing the healthcare landscape. Alongside Matt Baker, I am Steve Forney. And Matt, first of all, how are you? How you been? What's new? What's going on? Everything well?
I'm doing well, but a little sore and achy from this little winter storm we had this weekend. It's rainy here tonight, recording on a Tuesday, but we're doing well. How about you guys?
Not bad. Yep, same thing. Even tonight, I had to go out and just make sure those drains were cleared because we are going to get some serious melting and adult stuff.
Yeah,
grown up homeowner stuff. But we'll power through it.
Yeah, that's it.
Kind of like we had to power through the weekend, and I think we are going to spare our listeners. We do have some other things going on today besides just breaking down what was not a very good weekend.
Yeah.
But we do also have a new segment that I think we're going to be working into the show on a regular basis. And Matt, maybe you can tell the people a little bit about what it entails.
Yeah. So, we all know how much the Springfield Thunderbirds are. They embody the We Are 413. They are our community, and we want to highlight you in the community. So we are starting a new fan series segment where we will be inviting, one friend of the team, an episode, and kind of let them share their story, share their perspective on why they love the Thunderbirds, share some stories, and give you an opportunity to hear different perspectives, different stories. And again, we are 413, all of us. And so, Steve and I will be reaching out to some people and try to get some people on. Feel free to message us if you'd like that opportunity. We can't promise we could fit everybody in. But there's always next season too, right? So, but we're excited to bring that to you and highlight you, the fan. Without the fans, as we know, the Thunderbirds aren't what they are. I mean, that's in all sports. So, we're excited about this, and we're starting today with that first fan series segment in just a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been around the building a long time now, and I've had a lot of conversations with you people, like you. I've seen the faces, and I know the people, and the dedication, like Matt said, the dedication you have to this team in this area in this industry, and we want to really take the opportunity to highlight you guys, and we are, we'll still have our regular interviews. Hopefully, I have some things kind of cooking for other interviews of team personnel and things like that. But we do want to make sure that we hear from you, and we've at this point now we've done a couple of these. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. They are pre-recorded segments because we, we're keep ourselves organized. But so far, it's gone off to a really, really good start, and we're really excited to share some of the material that we have for you and voices and names that I think if you're a regular at Springfield Thunderbirds games, they're people that whether you like it or not, these people pretty well. So,
I've heard that voice before.
Yeah. So we are excited to bring you that. But in terms of on the ice, it hasn't sort of been the best here for the Thunderbirds. And I think one of the biggest questions, and we're going to get into it a little later on in the show as well, is I'm starting to now look at the effect that losing Drew Bannister has on this team, sort of as my opening take. And I don't I don't know much about Dan Kachuk, and I'm not saying that he's terrible at his job. That's not what I'm saying. But when you have your head coach for as long as you've had Drew Bannister, the success you've had, and you have a roster that's been, I mean, I don't think a lot of AHL teams keep a core together like the Thunderbirds have.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all under Drew Bannister, and now that voice is not there. And the record since he's gone is it's kind of striking. I mean, compared to what we've seen the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean it is below 500 record. We'll kind of break down a little bit more of the numbers, but I don't know. I'm a big into the philosophy, the mindset of coaching, not so much. It's not always the X's and O's piece of it. I don't know where the disconnect is. There just seems to be one. They're 4-3-3. I'm sorry, 4-4-3 since Dan Kachuk has taken over against, it was the Americans game.
Yeah.
And they've given up the first goal 9 times. We've talked about this now it's been a month. And how much energy is needing to be spent just to kind of climb back in, claw back in. It's not a good trend they have right now. Is it fixable? Will it turn around? I have faith it will. Again, we can say what we want about some of the issues and lack of confidence maybe the team has right now. There is no lack of grit. There never is a lack of resilience. I will say that, right? So I don't know. I mean, we have some plans for this show. We'll kind of get into maybe how we would fix it, but things aren't trending necessarily in the right direction. The 2 games that you've scored first, you've lost. They've had to climb out of multiple goal deficits 6 times. Sure, it's great to fight back to get to overtime. You get that point. But again, when you're starting to see that trend, and what we're starting to see now is we're not even getting to the point, that 1 point in overtime, right? They're becoming losses in regulation. So not a good weekend with seeing the Penguins on Friday and then the home and home with the Bruins. I do think the middle game was probably their best game.
Mm-hmm.
You had a 2-goal lead and it does go into overtime. Lost in a shootout. I know there's some controversy there about how overtime ended. From where we were sitting in section 1, and Steve, I sent you that video that Jill was able to get. He did fly into the post. It clearly came off the moorings before McGing took the shot. I don't know. What's your take on that? Should that be looked at, modified in the rules? Should it have been a penalty shot? It is what it is. What's your take on how that game ended?
So 2 things. Either it's a penalty shot, or one step further, we have the video review, and the video review is directly over the goal. And so if there's the red goal line.
Yep.
If the net is dislodged and the puck is over that, it's almost like in tennis. If it's over that red goal line and it's below goal height, it's a goal.
Mm-hmm.
The goal doesn't dictate whether or not the actual physical goal should not dictate whether or not a goal is scored.
Sure.
It's the line, right? When we replay things and did the goalie get his glove over in time and pull the puck back, that's the line, not the goal. So,
sure.
This is, I know it doesn't happen often, but when a player comes in and intentionally knocks the goal off, and a shot goes over that red line underneath what would be the crossbar, that's a goal.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've seen instances where, and for some reason this has happened a lot recently, but like one time the Thunderbirds net came off and they didn't blow the play dead because the Thunderbirds had the puck in the offensive zone. And then you look and poor Malcolm Subban is like trying to fix the pegs so he can put the goal, the net back on the moorings so that he doesn't, so that the offense can stay in the offensive zone. Then we had a situation where the goal gets knocked off, and I forget if it was the Thunderbirds or the opponent, but whoever it was had possession of the puck in the same situation, and they blew that play dead because the net was off at the whole other end of the ice.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that this is an area in the rule book that has not been, it's way too gray. It's too generic. There isn't enough, there's just not enough legislature. Again, as somebody who hates legislature, I hate it.
Yeah.
But there's not enough rules set in place for when these events happen. And why does the goal come off all the time? Safety. The guy comes flying into that thing, and it is in the ground. It's in the ice, nice and good. Well, that's like running into a steel pole at 100 miles an hour. That's how people get hurt, right? So you have to make the goal relatively detachable. If that's the case, you need to find a way to avoid these type of situations. And as far as I'm concerned, that was a goal. That was a good goal over the line, under the bar. And those plays can be reviewed on replay. You look at it with that overhead angle, you can clearly see that puck goes in. If you're not going to give them the goal, then you give them the penalty shot. Yeah. And I mean, as we saw with the shootout, not like the Thunderbirds are all that good in the penalty shot anyway, but I think that was Bolduc who ended up firing it.
I thought it was McGing. I think it was McGing.
Okay. Either way, I'll take that guy taking a penalty shot over what has been a relatively putrid power play. I almost wanted to decline the penalty. Based on the way the power play's been. That doesn't benefit the team at all when you get a 5-on-5 goal like that. So something needs to be done in the rule books about these, again, rare and random situations. But I think that would also stop guys from, defensemen. I don't know who the guy was, but he just came flying in and just bashed right into his own goal and knocked it off the pegs. Like, that's a problem.
It was a hip check. It looked to me like it was a clear hip check. And there is there's so much in the rules and this is how I kind of broke this down. It was deemed a delay of game, an intentional removing of the net, right? Because he got the penalty. So clearly the refs acknowledged the fact that in their mind's eye, right, and from their view, it was a penalty. I agree with you. I like your idea. It either is a goal, it's reviewed, and it is a goal, or a penalty shot. Like you said, look, they were 0 for 6 against Bussy in the shootout. I think in the 3 shootouts, they've got 1 goal. I believe so they're 1. I think they were like something like 1 for 12 or whatever it was. Ryan Suzuki's got the only shootout goal. 1 for 12 in 3 shootouts. So there isn't much faith that would have changed things, and it's not an excuse like, oh, they would have won if the refs made the right call, or but I agree with you. There needs to be some more black and white sort of one line, under 30 seconds in overtime with the game on the line. This is reviewable. It can be deemed a goal if the officials see that fit. Something should be done there. And like I said, it was clear. It looked to me like it was a hip check and an intentional lifting, and the refs saw it that way as well because they gave him the penalty.
Right.
But like I said, they did have their chance. Subban, great in net. He's like a phenomenal. I don't even sweat it watching a shootout when he's in goal. He puts himself in such good position. He got beat. It was a great shot, and he had made 5 saves. You have to think as a goalie or as a team, you've got to put one in the net before you get to the opposing team's 5th. I'm not sure what happened to Bolduc on his chance there, but he didn't even get a shot off. It looked like the puck just kind of stuck to the ice there. So not a lot happened, a lot to forget about the weekend. Sunday's game, you can tell it was the 3rd game of a 3-3 traveling. But again, no excuse. Providence had the same exact travel schedule as Springfield did. And, it just, this team takes a while to get into gear. Once they get into gear,
Right.
for the second half of the second period and for some of the third period, I thought, all right, actually, yeah, Springfield, you woke up, you're in gear and you're playing with them. But again, you're climbing out of, multiple goal deficits. It eventually, that sort of lucky well runs dry. I think that's
Yeah.
where we're at.
Yeah, I mean Sunday I can't even believe I'm saying it, but I put the Thunderbirds on. I turned the Patriots off because the Patriots are terrible. And I put the Thunderbirds on, and then real quick, I went back to the Patriots. At least
Yeah.
it was a football game in the snow. Like, that's fun. I don't care who's
Sure.
playing. If it's snowing sideways in a football game, I'm watching. And I turned the radio on for the Thunderbirds, and I watched the aesthetically pleasing yet still unentertaining football game because it wasn't. It just I couldn't take more of watching what I was watching.
It was frustrating.
Matt,
I was folding clothes in between
Matt,
shoveling.
yeah, I had a massive pile of laundry I was folding too. There's something about Sundays watching football folding laundry that I love doing.
That's my, not that anybody cares about this, but that's sort of like my husband wife deal. Jill, bring me all the laundry on Sundays. I will fold it. I can watch football. I can watch hockey. I will
Yep.
fold every article of clothing on a Sunday in my time, and she's cool with that. And so she just, that's
It's
sort
so
of our
true.
deal. It's great. It's a good
Yep.
it's a good deal for everybody.
The
But
problem
sorry,
is
go ahead.
the problem is over the summer nothing gets folded
Yeah.
because there's no hockey or football, so I got no time to sit in the basement and fold. But Matt, what's more exciting to you, a 2-minute power play or a penalty shot? Shootout aside. I'm not talking shoot. I'm talking in
Yeah.
game.
A 4-on-3 or a 5-on-4?
Either way.
You know what? In person, I'd give me a shootout. In person, or
No
a penalty shot.
A penalty shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. In person, give me a penalty shot.
I mean, the
Because
only
I'm
reason-
there. Give me. I want it. Score a goal right now. From the couch watching, I'll take a power play. Let's see what happens. Let's see how you're moving the puck, the strategy involved, how the defense is playing it. Give me all that. In person, give me a penalty shot.
Yeah, and I only asked because I think there were 2 or 3 opportunities, if not just this weekend, maybe going back to some of the previous games where it was borderline. Guys are coming down on a breakaway, they get hauled down from behind, and I'm like, that's a penalty shot, and they call interference or slashing or something like that, and to me, a penalty shot is again, take the shootout aside, in the middle of a game, a one-on-one penalty shot is exciting as heck, and they never happen. And I don't understand why. I don't know why a ref says, well, we'll just give them the slash rather than go ahead, one-on-one. Let's go. You got hauled down. Let's do it. And, again, just going back to that goal dislodging thing, I just think the shootout would be, or the penalty shot would be really interesting. I think it'd be interesting for the game. You talk about scoring being down in the NHL and the AHL. Here's a good way to do it. And, Zach Bolduc on tired legs, or Hugh McGing on tired legs, having to take a penalty shot against a goalie who just faced a fury of shots. That's interesting. That's entertaining to me. So I would like to see that somehow incorporated more in more, less 2 minutes in the box and more, if it's borderline, lean towards the penalty shot. But they never happen, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
So we are going to, I think, after we do our guest interview, we are going to play a little bit of GM. We do have some other things we want to get to. Nathan Walker signed a 2-year one-way deal, so his time in Springfield is pretty much over. But congratulations to him. I'm happy for any guy who goes up there and gets himself a nice contract. But we are going to play a little bit more of the fantasy armchair GM role. And just kind of see where this team is at and what we think they can do to kind of shake things up a little bit. But before we do, we want to remind you that the SRG podcast is proudly sponsored by our friends at White Lion Brewing in their new location in Amherst on North Pleasant Street, of course, right in downtown Springfield at Tower Square at 1500 Main Street. The place to go prior to Springfield Thunderbirds games. Make sure that you park in the Tower Square garage and then take your parking ticket down to White Lion. They will validate it for you. And while you're there, grab a drink, grab some of the delicious food that they have there. It's a wonderful space down there. You're guaranteed a good time. And if you do, make sure that you tell them that the guys at SRG sent you, and by our friends at YOLO Healthcare Consulting. They offer education, training, tutoring, coaching, and mentoring for healthcare professionals and students. Founding owners Yolanda Mero and Lola Rios are doctorate-prepared nurses with over 40 years combined bedside, academic, and leadership nursing experience. They offer assistance to individuals navigating the healthcare system for long-term care and home care planning needs. Founded right here in Western Mass, YOLO Healthcare Consulting are the ones to contact to help you bridge the gap if you're traversing the healthcare landscape. You can give them a call at 413-627-0609 or yolo.healthcareconsulting@gmail.com, and make sure that you tell our good friends over there that the guys at SRG sent you. So as Matt mentioned earlier, we do have a nice little fan series here. Our first interview is on the way. It is brought to you by our friends at O'Connell's Irish Pub and Grill. We're very happy to have O'Connell's on board, as well as Patty's Irish Pub. But O'Connell's at 733 Chicopee Street in Chicopee, easy on and off from 391 with 10 local and craft beers on tap, 9 TVs, 9. Late night menu, as well as live weekly music. O'Connell's has just for you, just what you're looking for. Let's send it off to our first fan interview.
My name's Al Arment. We've been season ticket holders now for close to 13 years. I mean, we love the sport. You know, I mean, I've been a fan of hockey pretty much my whole life. You know, we started off, my parents actually started me with the Springfield Kings back in the late 70s. We ended up meeting a couple of the players back then. So that really kind of drew me into, you know, getting to know the players, being around the sport. I thought it was exciting. I ended up meeting Ted Shore at one game. There was one game, I think, when the Springfield Civic Center first opened. Ted Shore was at one of those games, not junior, but actually, you know, his father, Ted Shore Sr. And my father took me over to meet him. And, you know, I'm just a little kid, probably about maybe 10, 11 years old. And Ted Shore's telling me how to, you know, this is how you got to stand when you're playing hockey. And he gets me down in this little crouch, and he hits me with, you know, in the shoulder, and it pretty much knocked me off my feet. And then Ted said, well, this is how you're supposed to stand. And then I stood how he wanted me to stand, and he hit me again, and I didn't move. You know, and back then, you know, hockey players are like a god. Back then, you know, to a little kid, hockey players are everything. It means a lot to a little kid to be able to interact with the players. So once that happened, and I met a couple of the other players from the Kings, it was on from there. I love interacting with some of the players, but what keeps us coming back really, it's the fan interactions. You know, it's when you're there for so many years, you get to meet different people. You get to talk to different people. You get to hear some of their stories. They hear some of your stories, and you kind of become interested in each other. And you kind of become a family, and that's really what the sport's about. You know, we really, I got to be honest, it's kind of hard to get people to sit around us because, I really, when it comes to these things, it's just kind of like, there's only so many cowbells people can take, and I've got 7 of them. So I bring 3 at a time, and not too many people can take them. But there are families that have come up there, and they brought their families, and it has been their first game. And we interact with them, we talk with them, and like I said, I have 7 cowbells, and if they got a son or a daughter sitting there and they're really into the game, I'll hand them my cowbell to ring.
Sure.
Of course, the parents are kind of like, oh God, here we go. But it's again, it's a part of getting into the sport, getting into the game, and it's how you interact with the fans and the team that really makes it fun. So I mean, we love it. We love it.
That's awesome.
Al, I have to ask, and I'm glad you showed us the cowbell. How did that start?
Well, it's one season I had went to I think it was Ocean State Job Lot, and I said, something, I'm going to buy a little cowbell. So I bought one of the cheaper cowbells. It had a little handle on it, and I got up into the stands, and I started ringing it. Well, the only problem with that was probably after the 7th or 8th game of the season, I rang the cowbell and the striker inside the bell broke and it bounced down the stairs down to the boards. So, I pretty much had to look for another bell. So I ended up buying a bunch of different cowbells, and finally I found a place out in Utah that I've been buying them from, and they send them out to me, replacement strikers and the whole 9 yards.
That's awesome.
The cowbell connoisseur. I like that.
Oh yeah.
I like that.
Oh yeah. Like I said, I got 7 of them. We actually went on a road trip one day, and we went to Lehigh Valley. We went to watch the Thunderbirds out at Lehigh Valley. And I tried going into, it's funny because some of the other arenas in Pennsylvania, they don't allow cowbells.
Maybe it's just yours.
I wouldn't doubt it. They're loud enough. But the thing was, when we went in there, they wouldn't allow any bags, any cowbells. But when we got into the arena, believe it or not, these are the things that they were selling.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I'm sorry, I can't ring that. Sorry. Yeah, I take it home and scrape the Lehigh Valley emblem off of it. But one of the things that I found, especially between Springfield and Hartford, they use the term the I-91 rivalry. Well, you have some fans, not all of them. A lot of the fans are really good, but you have some of the fans that take that word like out of context, and you'll have them. We'll go to Hartford and they'll start shooting sarcastic remarks at me, and it's I just look at them like, yeah, well, whatever. I'm not going to get into that with you. And you'll have your fans and I've done this in Hartford, and you'll get the fans. They'll start yelling, "Let's go Wolfpack!" And as soon as they finish that, before they can clap, I'm shooting off with the "Let's go T-Bird." So it's kind of like nonstop, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it's funny just because that's the rival. You want to see who's louder. You want to be loud in their building. If you can be loud in their building and your team hears it, that cranks your team up, and that's what you want to get into. So, and that's not really a bad rivalry, but that's the kind of rivalry that the fans should have. You want to be able to go back and forth with each other, but you want to keep it fun.
Right.
We have we actually have a friend of ours. He's a season ticket holder in Providence. He's a Providence Bruins fan. And one night he actually sent me an email, and he wanted us to attend one of their games down in Providence, where Providence, I think they were playing Hartford at the time. And we actually had a home game here in Springfield. And we've never missed a game in Springfield. We're Thunderbirds fans. But what we ended up finding out was our friend in Hartford, he's a 9-year cancer survivor, and he almost died twice. And in this particular game, he was actually celebrating his 8th anniversary. And we thought it would be special to him. And if he's going to ask us to stand by his side while he's celebrating being 8 years cancer-free, where he almost died twice, we thought, something. I think this is something where we can really skip one home game here. I mean, don't get us wrong. We had our cell phone. We're AHL TV right there. But we're sitting there in the Providence arena, sitting with them. And what we did, we kind of surprised them. What we did was, my wife and I, we had Providence Bruins T-shirts made up with a special logo on the front. We had the ribbon going through the B with his name and the number 8 on the back for coincide with the number of years he was cancer-free. Well, what we did was we took those T-shirts and we wore them. We had them on, but we took our Thunderbirds jerseys and we put them over the T-shirts, so you really couldn't see the T-shirts. This was a surprise for him. So, I mean, everybody in Providence was really kind of what the heck are you guys doing here now? We don't play you guys till tomorrow. You guys are a little bit early, ain't you? Yeah, well,
Wrong game. Yeah.
Wrong game. But hey, we wanted to beat the Rush. So what we did was when they put him on the screen as being cancer free, they got 3 Thunderbirds fans with their jerseys up on the screen, standing next to a guy with the Providence Bruins t-shirt with a jersey. But what we did at that point that we were up on the screen, we actually took our jerseys off, showing the Providence Bruins t-shirt with his name and the number on the back. And that he was, awesome. he didn't even know what to say. He turned around and he just stared at us like, really, guys? And those are the kind of relationships that we try to make in other arenas. It's important to have, I mean, you got to understand, hockey's a family sport. I mean, you're there for your team, whether it's a home team or the away team, you're there to cheer your team on. But, all in all, at the end of the game, everybody's a fan of hockey.
Right.
And that's the bottom line, whether you're the home or away, everybody likes the sport, and that's what it's all about. We when we first started going to the Thunderbirds games, it was a preseason game between Hartford and Springfield. At the time, Dylan McElrath played for Hartford, and I don't remember who the Thunderbird was that he grabbed, but it was a preseason game. Really didn't mean anything. But he grabbed the smallest guy we had on the team and he lit him up. I mean, Dylan McElrath. Dylan's, he's a bruiser. He's gonna hurt you if you get into a fight with him. So it was a preseason game. At that time, you could pretty much sit anywhere in the arenas. The seats weren't assigned. So I had went down to the penalty box and I had said, hey, look, save that stuff for the regular season. You don't need to be doing that now. And he said something rotten. He said something really. It was over the cup, but it was one of those things that, if you're going to give it, you better be able to take it. It was one of those types of comments. Mm-hmm. So for the next, the next, oh God, I don't know how long, for the next 5 or 6 seasons, every time I was in Hartford or anytime he was here, I was down at the penalty box every single time he was here, every single time. And the last time that he was here, believe it or not, I got under his skin pretty good. Then it became me and Seth Helgeson got into it, and it's just
Nolachari.
Oh, Nolachari, yeah. Well, yeah, Steve, I got a picture. You got a kick out of that one. I got a picture of that one. I said Dylan McElrath, when he played for Hartford, he ended up getting traded, and I think I forgot the team that he went, and then the next season after that, he got traded again. So this is now only 2 seasons, Matt. Mm-hmm. He got traded to Springfield. So for all of those years that I rode him, now I got to be nice to the guy. So we were standing outside and we were trying to get autographs, and we went into the Thunderbirds office to get our tickets, and we're standing there, and McElrath came in the front door. And I said to my wife, do me a favor, can I get a picture with you? And, Dylan says, yeah, no, sure. So my wife turns around and takes a picture. But at that time, Dylan didn't know who I was. Yeah, he thought I was just a fan standing in the office. So he's taking a picture with me, and he's got a really big smile on his face. And it was a great picture. Now, the next night, my wife wanted me to get a Hartford Wolfpack mascot autograph by Dylan McElrath. So now we're standing by the players' entrance where they come in, and now here comes Dylan. I go to hand them the Hartford Wolfpack mascot to autograph, and then he realized who I was, and the reaction was not as friendly as it seemed the night before. And the thing is, I talked to him afterwards. And when he played for Springfield, I told him, I said, look, I hope there's no hard feelings. It's just I'm just being a fan. As a fan from myself, if you can heckle the players and you can get under their skin and you can take them out of their game, they're more worried about the guy up in the stands who's doing the yelling than they are on the ice doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is going to make it a little bit easier for your team to score. And that's pretty much why I do what I do.
All right, there goes our friend Al Arment, and yes, I'm sure anybody that's been to the Thunderbirds games more than once down at the Mass Mutual Center knows that guy, knows that voice pretty well. And if you don't, that's the really loud guy with the cowbell cheering.
I was just gonna say, you gotta give me more cowbell. I need more cowbell, baby.
I think he's got 7 of them. He should just hand them out. Just start handing them out. But no, it was cool to get his perspective, and I know he's he goes back and forth with visiting players more than anybody I've ever seen, and it's like impressive. Like he's got like I'm like the freaking stones on this guy. Like going after almost 6'4", 280-pound Dylan McElrath. Like holy smokes!
Yeah, and then look, I'm new to the Springfield fan family. Right. And you can tell he's sort of the old guard there, but I love it. It's entertaining. And you know what? I enjoy the fact that, it brings a smile to his face. It brings a smile to other people's face. And that's sort of what we're trying to highlight is, the different perspectives and outlooks of different fans. And, I love hearing stories from the faithful on, things that have happened in the past, things that they're doing now. And it's just great to see. And our buddy Al, he's a fan of the show. Great guy. And I enjoy listening to him at the games. He's a good guy.
And our fan segment is brought to you by O'Connell's Irish Pub and Grill at 733 Chicopee Street in Chicopee. Whether you are driving along 391 looking for a bite to eat, even later on in the night, feel free to stop by O'Connell's. Full menu has something to satisfy your hunger. Shepherd's pie, flatbreads, sandwiches, and what's important to me and Matt, full kids menu. Yep. We love to go to the pubs, but we like a kids menu if you can. So O'Connell's does have that for you parents out there. And if you're looking for a friendly environment at night to grab a drink or two, stop by. Take a look at their 10 local and craft beers on tap. O'Connell's Irish Pub and Grill, located at 733 Chicopee Street in Chicopee. Proud sponsor of the SRG podcast. Make sure you tell Blake and our friends behind the bar that the boys at SRG sent you. Boy, it is really nice to, again, the community wanting to back us and get involved in what we do here is awesome. It's overwhelming. Yeah. It's humbling. I think I'm really proud of what we got going on here, Matt.
Yeah,
we're happy to have O'Connell's and Patty's on board. So
absolutely.
And we'll have more of that for you next week as well. So definitely stay tuned for that. So Matt, are we going to play a little bit of GM
head coach, GM? Sure. Yeah. Why not? I mean, yeah. I've never really won anything in real life, but my fantasy record, if I do say so for myself, isn't too bad. So, look, I'll kind of start here.
Sure.
Like I said, I'm a phys ed teacher. I've coached high school. I coach my kids in their sports. I am a big believer in sports psyche. I think if you look at any level, we're all human, right? We're not playing against aliens from another planet we're not playing the Monstars in NBA Jam. So at some point, especially when you're talking about professionals, yes, there are guys who are more talented than others, but I do believe sports psyche can make a difference. And right now, I think the buttons that I would be pressing as a coach is that the mindset. How can we get started early? There's talent on this team. We know it. We see it in spurts, late in games, furious comebacks, unlucky breaks late in the game. We need to figure out a way to get going. We need to figure out a way to play a full 60-minute game. And we saw it against Hartford, so I know it's there. We know it's there. We've seen it. It's just right now they're in a spell, and I think one of the things I would look to do is kind of shake up this goalie rotation a little bit. I think it has been working for the most part. And again, not every goal let in this weekend is on goaltending. I think too often we're letting goaltenders out to dry. But again, I wonder if it is, we know goalies do play pucks a little differently, and some goalies do prefer to see a shot from different angles. And so I would be switching up this goalie rotation a little bit and maybe playing. Malcolm has been stronger as of late. And again, something has to be done. Something has to be getting this team clicking a little bit. I know that Big Z is a top prospect, is a top goalie prospect. I understand all that, but I would be looking to see a little bit more of maybe a 2-to-1, 3-to-1 kind of goalie share right now for maybe the next few weeks. I think there are some players that can be called up. I know, Steve, you and I were kind of talking about this a little bit. You've got in Orlando, you got Mitchell Holscher, Tanner Dickinson. Why not? Colton Ellis is down there. He's lighting it up. He was ECHL goalie of the month for December. But again, I don't really see goaltending as a huge, massive problem.
No.
But, there are players down there. Bring some of these guys up. Jeremy Biakabatuka. Why not? They brought Marc-Andre Gaudette up. I thought he played okay Sunday. No huge mistakes. But especially now, you've got Nathan Walker, his time in Springfield, like you said at the top of the show. We're moving on from that. Happy to see him reach this level again. Happy for his success. So now we need to re-solidify what this top line is going to be. Up until this point, when Walker was pulled up, it was the only line that was consistent for every game of the season. Who's now is going to be the line mates with Pekka and Gaudette? Tkachuk, it has been doing a lot of bottom six shuffling. I don't know. I don't think that's working.
Well, I mean, just to sort of leapfrog on that, and you mentioned sports psyche. Now's the time where you bring up Mitchell Holscher, and not only just bring him up, put him on the top line.
Sure.
See how these other players react. I think the hard part with this roster is that they're loaded with two types of players, and I'm talking mostly about the forwards. They are solidified AHL guys, and then they are top prospects that are going to get the ice time. Like you're not going to bench Leo Loof, Zach Dean, Zach Bolduc. You're not going to bench them for a long period of time. Should they maybe sit for a game or two? Sure. And I think we saw Leo Loof get sat for a game over the weekend. But what a message it is to that locker room when if you guys can't do it, we're gonna find somebody else who can. Here's Mitchell Holscher, and he's gonna play top line. Guess what? We're putting him on the first power play unit. And if you think you're better than Mitchell Holscher, then show me. Go out there and score some goals. I think the defense in front of these goalies. I love Joey Duzak. I think his offense has been fantastic. If I see another puck go in the net and from a guy directly in front of the net, and there he is, not clearing the front of the net. I don't know what to tell you. Ben Carroll. Never heard of Ben Carroll. I don't know anything about Ben Carroll. I don't even know if he's our property. I assume he is. He's down with the Orlando Solar Bears. He's got 20 points in 31 games, 17 assists, all career highs. He's a plus 12. Jimmy Mazza. Jimmy Mazza's 6'2", almost 200 pounds. He has 11 points. He's a plus 13, and he has 40 penalty minutes. Right? You want somebody to go out there and clear the front of the net, not let guys just hang out in the crease. Move people out of your goal crease. Jimmy Mazza, never heard of him. But you know what, Callie Rosen, if you're not going to do it, here's a guy who will. And there's too much talent on this back end for them to not be able to defend their own crease, let alone clear pucks when they're supposed to. Make good breakout passes. I think that from the back end, quite frankly, over the last month has been a hot mess.
Yeah.
And what I see from these guys, I like. It was bad, and then you lost Kessel, and then you lost Dylan Coughlin to injury. So now something's got to give. And, again, I don't know much about Marc-Andre Gaudette either, but the statement that would be made to the room of, your playing time is not guaranteed. We got guys. We
Mhm.
have ECHL guys that are ready to go. We got Jamison Reese ready to, Jamison Reese had a career year last year.
Yeah.
And when he plays limited minutes on the third and fourth line. Throw him on the top line. Throw him out there with Pekka and Gaudette. See what happens.
Yeah.
The spot's open. Nathan Walker's not there anymore. So as far as I'm concerned, that top line spot, I mean, again, Nikita Alexandrov's been down and he's been invisible for 3 games. You
Yep.
can't even tell he's out there. So here comes Mitchell Holscher. Here's Jamison Reese. Ryan Suzuki, we don't own him. He's
Yeah.
been mediocre at best. Bench him.
Yeah.
I don't. He means nothing to the St. Louis Blues organization.
Yeah.
And you're not obligated to play him. Send a statement, make a message with other roster guys, because I guarantee you, Mitchell Holscher, what's his name? Ben Carroll,
Ben Carroll. Yep.
Jimmy Mazza. These guys get a call up. I guarantee you they're going to play. They're going to give you 150% effort.
Yeah.
And maybe that rubs off on the other guys. Maybe they come up and they're terrible. Who knows? Probably, but
Is it?
it's an opportunity to shake things up a little bit and wake these guys up a little bit and say, you're too talented. You're more talented than these guys that we're playing right now.
Yeah.
Show me.
Yeah,
Show me what you're
prove it.
capable of, because right now it's just not there.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. And we even have, and it's kind of, we have a guy on our roster too, Sam Bitten, who I think needs to be getting more minutes now. He needs to be. There's a void in this roster of physicality at times, and he would bring it. And again, I realize he's not a drafted player. I realize the Blues are not invested in the development of a Sam Bitten. But again, to your point, not that way with Suzuki either.
Right.
So,
Or Reese. I mean, we talked about Reese, but they're not investing in him either.
But I'm with you. The psyche of it, I think there needs to be a little bit of a shock to the system, a little bit of a jolt, because they are too talented of a team. And we see it in these flashes. If we see it in the third period, I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy. I couldn't go out there and skate for 60 minutes. But if we can see it for 15 minutes in the third period, we can see it for 60 minutes throughout a game. That energy level can be there. And all of this, I think too, to take a step back a little bit, even though they have been 4-4-3, 2 of those 4 wins were massive comebacks that, it took a goal with 10 seconds left from Pekka, right? So the good is that, this team isn't going to quit. We know this. This team is not going to quit. They're not going to throw in the towel. They're going to fight, but something has to be done to get these guys going early. And if that is starting these younger guys, and bring up an ECHL guy and start him in the first, because I know he's going to give me full energy. I know he's going to be focused on the first period, and I know he's going to get to his assignments. Maybe that's the shock they need. And that's where I'd be looking to make a difference.
And real quick, I know we talked about it before the season even started. Like, you're going to have to make up for the offense that was lost with Martin Furk and with Matthew Highmore. But we're in January, and I haven't once up until now said, boy, they really miss Martin Furk. Boy, they really miss Matthew Highmore. They're capable of it.
Yeah.
They're capable of filling that void up and down that roster. Now is the time where they have to have a little bit of look themselves in the mirror and figure it out. Sorry to interrupt. But
No. I mean, that's it. I mean, mirrors work for a reason. You got to use them. And, I know down, in the pipeline, you still have prospects like Jimmy Snuggerud, who just had a great Junior Worlds. You've got Dvorsky as well. We've been talking about this through our sort of, text thread, but Snuggerud still has to finish his collegiate career, whether that be at the end of this season, that's up to him. And I have no idea. Right. I'm not exactly sure how Dvorsky works, but he's up in the OHL right now. I mean, the Blues kind of sent him to the OHL. I don't know why they couldn't send him here, but look for something like that. Bring somebody in to spark this team. And it's similar to what they did in St. Louis. I know they fired the coach, and the first thing Drew Bannister kind of said was, look, we need guys who are going to work. If you're not
Right.
going to work, we'll find somebody who can. They send
Right.
Vrana down. He got his mind right, and we talked, we were a little worried about that, but he had his mind right down here in
He's a
Springfield, and now
real good soldier. Yep.
and now he's back up, and good for him. Happy for him. I don't know how things will work out in the future, but we need to say that now here in Springfield. Look, guys, we've got the talent.
Yeah.
It has to now translate on the ice, and I have confidence that it will. Every team goes through this. It's even on Sunday's game when that first period was just so bad. And again, you can't use it as an excuse of travel because the team you're playing against had the same travel schedule. And then you see these spurts throughout the rest of the game. And in the third period, and you're like, a little bit of this in the first period, a little bit.
Yeah. Right.
And again, we're not talking one game. I really think this is a long trend that has sort of been hidden by late game heroics. 10 seconds left goal. Without that goal, now you're 3-4 and 3.
Right.
And that happened twice.
They could be 2-6-3. I mean,
Exactly.
Realistically,
You're 100% right. 100% right. And granted, you've got 3 overtime shootout losses. Those could be wins too. They weren't, and again, where you're 1-12 on,
right, 1 for 12 in the shootouts.
You're 1 for 12 on shootouts. So I'm not banking. I have faith in the goaltending. I don't have faith in their ability to score a penalty shot at the moment.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to bring up real quick that I noticed in at least Saturday's game, obviously being down a coach, I noticed Chris Thorburn on the Thunderbirds bench. Obviously I think he played over 800 games in the NHL. In fact, I remember him playing for the Atlanta Thrashers. But I think he finished his career with the Blues, and their development coaches between Glenn Wesley, Chris Thorburn, Matt DiAgostini, again, all NHLers.
Mm-hmm.
Thorburn was actually on the bench, and if anybody, it was the guy with the man bun. He's got a pretty sweet little man bun back there. But ironically, I also saw Adam McQuaid on the Providence bench, and of course, Adam McQuaid, Stanley Cup winner with the Bruins, who is also involved in the Bruins development. So I don't know how. I've never seen development coaches on the bench. All the time I've been working the AHL, I've never noticed that. But here's a new voice and a fresh face to maybe get a different perspective of. And honestly, the whole time I was watching Chris Thorburn, he was writing. I mean, he was writing stuff down, and he had the clipboard, and he was taking pretty diligent notes. So, maybe that's a move by Tkachuk to say, we're short a guy on the bench. We can't watch everything. Can we get a developmental coach in here to just kind of take another look at what we're looking at? And I'm glad they went with a guy like Thorburn, who, again, wasn't this offensive. I mean, he wasn't Wayne Gretzky on the ice, but he's a forward, and he can look at the power play, the penalty kill, special teams, and look at different things and maybe offer a different perspective. So we'll see if I don't know how long he's been here. That was sort of the first time I've seen him, but maybe just his presence in on the ice at practice, maybe that's something that can help just change the tide a little bit or change the approach a little bit. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I don't know. The only other thing that I had sort of in my notes, and again, Coach Tkachuk has been very flexible with his bottom 6, in game, in period, shuffling. I would look to make a move, but keep it consistent. I'm sure that the players are communicated with, and they are not caught off guard necessarily, probably like as we are as fans. I believe that. I'm sure they're communicating to the players what to expect, but they seem like a team that's lacking that confidence and that chemistry at the moment. And so, maybe they're trying to find the pieces in real time, but I would look to change something up, send a little shock to the system, but keep it consistent. Whatever that shock is, if that makes at all any sense.
Yeah.
Right. But look, these are our 4 lines. This is what you're going out with, barring some sort of injury or something catastrophic. This is it. And boys, figure it out and make it work, make it happen.
I mean, just look at let's look back at what worked at the beginning of the season. Like, we're to the point now, you had your double McLaughlin line. How many weeks ago was that?
Yeah.
And has McEachern, McGing, Laffey been on the same line since? And have any of those guys really given you anything? I mean, McGing had a couple points over the weekend, but there's been no consistency from any three of those. Then it was the double McBitten line.
Yeah.
Again, I haven't seen nearly enough from those players. So maybe you have Alexandrov sent down, and now you have Ryan Suzuki, and you have all these other guys. But maybe it's time to go back to look at what was working at the beginning of the season. And I know the first 10 games was just Adam Gaudette going bananas.
Yeah,
but like maybe it's time to look at what happened over the first month and a half of the season that went well, and try to bring that back and try to bring that to fruition. Because again, McGing, McEachern, Laffey, Will Bitten, I think has been really unlucky, but his numbers are down. Those are the guys that you really need to get going. And if those guys get going, then the Boldukes and the Deans and the Drew Callens and the Abramovs, I think they'll all come along, but they're not going to go anywhere unless you have. It can't just be Pekka and Gaudette and Alexandrov. It has to be across the board, and it's those sort of second and third line guys that really need to kick it up.
Yeah, and that's a great point.
Maybe it's consistency, like you said.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I remember highlighting the energy level of that McGing, McEachern, Laffey line. It was sprawling for the puck in the neutral zone. It was gaining control. It was the back check. It was it was the hustle that at the beginning of the season, it was all the points were coming from the top line, Pekka, Walker, Gaudette. But it was the second line that was adding that little spark of energy. And you're right, that's sort of what you're missing. Where is that energy level? Where is that, and those high energy guys like a Will Bitten, I know, is he playing on a fourth line to help develop Dean or whatever the case may be? Look, let's put him back on the second line, give him top 6 minutes and let these energy guys, McGing, Bitten, let them play. And, I don't know, consistency in the lines, consistency in the play. We've been talking about this now. It's not a good trend for about a month.
It's been 3 weeks we've been using the word consistency. It's been been the most used word, I think, here on the podcast. Well, we do have 3 opportunities for this to happen, and of course, where the day we record is different than the day the episode drops. So we'll say tonight, Wednesday night, 7:00 at Bridgeport, a get right game. I mean, I know they've
got to be
been back and forth, and they took it to you last game. Now it's time to go in there and not to, I guess, go off. One of the things I wanted to mention, 7-game homestand. Maybe it's time to get out of the Mass Mutual Center.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to go on the road, go to a different building. Again, these fans are passionate, but here in Springfield, but yeah, there was some boo birds. The penalty kill, the power play goes bad. There were some boo birds out there. Maybe they just need to be in a different locker room, have a different routine of going to the game every night. Maybe a couple of games away from the Mass Mutual Center would do them well, and that'll start tonight in Bridgeport.
Absolutely. Follow that with the Friday game at Syracuse. This is a tough one. I don't know much about Syracuse, but I know they are in second place in their division, 40 points. So expect a good battle there. And then they end their 3 games on Monday back in the Thunderdome. I'm really excited for this game.
You going to this one?
We will be there.
Nice.
This is the Kids Takeover game. I've highlighted the Kids Club. This is a wonderful thing that the Springfield Thunderbirds front office puts on. Keith Allen does a great job kind of overseeing all this, but all the kids in the Kids Club get, they sign up for a job. And then they get picked to help out Steve, help out Kevin Johnson, help with ticket takers, the Famboni, the Get Loud crew. So that is Monday, 3:00. It's a matinee game, Martin Luther King Day game at the Thunderdome. And I believe it's followed by the team autograph session.
Yes.
Team kind of not so much like a meet and greet with the season ticket holders, but just an autograph signing session that will be after the game.
Yeah, and you better win. You better win that one. Win that one for the kids, boys.
Yeah,
win that one for the kids. For crying out loud. So
and us.
Yeah, well, right. Seriously.
No, I'm with you.
But yeah, I'm excited. I think I know at least the next door neighbor might be in the booth with me for a period or two. So that's
I,
exciting.
I know my kids signed up to be with you, so we'll see.
All right.
though.
Well, you guys can all come. I love your boys, the neighbors' kids. Bring them all
Yeah.
in. We'll fill up that box, and everybody can take a turn on the mic.
There you go.
So that's exciting. And as always, a big thank you to our friends at White Lion Brewing. You can check out their new location in Amherst, and of course in Tower Square in downtown Springfield, your place to go before any Thunderbirds games. And our friends at YOLO Healthcare Consulting, bridging the gap for those traversing the healthcare landscape. You can reach out to them at 413-627-0609 or yolo.healthcareconsulting@gmail.com. Well, a productive episode, I think. Maybe there was a little bit of venting, Matt, but I think a productive episode. And hopefully that when we do this Monday, we're going to go Monday after the game. Little
Maybe Tuesday.
Okay, yeah, whatever
Monday
you want
might
to
be
do.
late. Yeah, we'll
whatever
see.
you want to do.
We'll play
but
it by ear.
we'll be sure to have that episode ready for you on next Wednesday. And appreciate everybody listening, subscribing, sharing. Thank you for all that you do for us here. And we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening, for liking. Thank you, Al Arment, for being our guest this week on our first fan series. And as always, maybe now more than ever, let's go T-Birds.